My name's Natalie Grant. I'm 34 years old, and last Friday I landed the kind of promotion people spend decades chasing, senior marketing director at a global firm, with a raise that made my knees wobble. I spent that night alone in my downtown Chicago apartment, sipping champagne in my sweatpants, the city skyline glittering through my floor-to-ceiling windows. I wasn't looking for anyone's applause. I'd built this life from scratch, grit, long nights, zero handouts, and I liked it quiet, peaceful, earned. Then came the knock. I froze, flute halfway to my lips. It was nearly 9 p.m., and I wasn't expecting anyone. No texts, no food delivery, just that slow, deliberate knock. I opened the door to find a face I hadn't seen in 5 years. Marie Grant, my mother. She stood there in a floral wrap dress like she'd come from brunch, not a 2-hour drive from Rockford. Her hair was perfectly curled, her eyes sparkling, lips painted a confident red I hadn't seen since she bolted from my life. She smiled wide, arms out like we were old friends. "Natalie, sweetheart, look at you, you're glowing!" I blinked, stunned. "What are you doing here?" She laughed, brushing past me into the apartment like she owned the place. "What? I need an invitation now? I heard the big news. Senior director, huh? My girl, making waves." Her eyes darted around the space, taking in the marble countertops, curated shelves, the view. "Wow, you really did well for yourself. No husband yet?" she added, glancing at my bare ring finger with a smirk. I stood there, stunned and disoriented, heart racing for reasons I couldn't explain. The last time we'd spoken, she called me cold, said I was too proud to need a mother. Now she was complimenting my success like she'd had a hand in it. I poured her a glass of sparkling water, not champagne. She didn't deserve a toast. "You should have called," I said quietly. She waved me off. "Spur of the moment. I needed to see you. You've become everything I hoped for." The words were sweet, but her tone? Too rehearsed. Like this was step one of a plan she hadn't fully revealed yet. I felt the ground shift beneath me. Something was coming. The next morning, we sat across from each other at a bright little cafe 2 blocks from my apartment. I'd barely slept, replaying her surprise arrival, the way her eyes lingered on my home like she was mentally unpacking. But now, she was all smiles, sipping a matcha latte and pretending nothing was strange. "You always loved cafes like this," she said, glancing at the mason jar light fixtures. "Very Pinterest of you." I offered a tight smile, trying to keep the morning civil. "So what have you been up to?" I asked, knowing full well she wouldn't answer with anything real. Marie loved mystery, always had. She dabbed her lips with a napkin, then looked me dead in the eye. "I quit my job." I blinked. "Excuse me?" "The salon. I walked out yesterday. Told Janice I'm done chasing tips and breathing in chemical fumes. It's time I took care of myself." I leaned back, slowly setting my fork down. "And what's your plan?" She smiled like I'd just opened a door for her. "Well, that's why I came, honey. You're doing amazing. Your place, this job. You've finally made it, and now it's your turn to take care of me." The sentence hit like a punch. No hesitation, no irony, just a declaration. She went on, casual as can be. "I did my part, Nat. I gave you life, raised you, put up with all your teenage drama. Now you're successful. It's time for me to rest." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This was the same woman who left me with a landlord's eviction notice when I was 19 because she'd gambled the rent money. The same woman who told me, "You better figure it out, baby girl. The world doesn't hand you a parachute." And now she wanted me to be hers? I kept my voice steady. "You want me to support you?" She beamed, sipping her latte. "Just a little help. Maybe cover rent, groceries. I'll keep things simple. No spa days unless I'm really stressed." She thought this was a joke. Or worse, she thought I owed her. And I could see it now. Her plan wasn't spur of the moment. It was rehearsed, and it had just begun. She started small. A few offhand comments here, a gentle revision there. "Remember when I used to help you with your homework? God, you were such a little genius," she said, flipping through a photo album I didn't remember giving her. I stared at a photo of me in my high school graduation gown, one hand clutching a diploma, the other a scholarship certificate. I remembered begging her to come that day. She never showed. Claimed she had a migraine. Now she sat beside me on my couch like she'd been front row cheering the loudest. It didn't stop there. Over the next few days, Marie spun a story where she was the wind beneath my wings. "You wouldn't be who you are without my tough love," she'd say, sipping wine she hadn't paid for. "I made sure you were strong." Strong? That's one word for kicking your kid out at 17 because her part-time paycheck couldn't cover both the electric bill and your habit. In Marie's rewritten version of my life, she had pushed me to be independent, with purpose, like a mentor in a coming-of-age film. Reality? She refused to co-sign student loans, said I was smart enough to figure it out. I did. I juggled 2 jobs, slept in my car some nights, and clawed my way into college without a dollar from her. But now she wanted to play the hero in a story she abandoned before the first act finished. She started leaving things around my apartment, a hairbrush in the bathroom, slippers by the door, marking territory like a cat no one invited. She made it sound noble. "I'll be around more now, help you with groceries, cook dinner once in a while." Like she was doing me a favor by inserting herself into a life I'd built without her. The worst part? She said it all with a straight face. No shame, no acknowledgement of the nights I cried alone in my college dorm, wishing I had someone to call. According to Marie, she was always there. Maybe not physically, maybe not financially, but in spirit? And now, apparently, I owed her interest on the fantasy she'd invented. It started with a text. "Hey babe, can you cover my phone bill this month? Only $120? XO. I blinked at the screen. It was 7:32 a.m. I was halfway through my first cup of coffee. I hadn't even fully processed the previous night's dinner where she'd hinted about needing just a little help with groceries. I didn't reply. By noon, she'd followed up with a full list. Rent, $1,200. Utilities, $280. Car note, $495. Groceries, $400. Self-care spa plus nails, $250. Gas, $150. Misc, $100. Total, $2,875. Nearly half my new salary gone in a single swipe if I agreed. I stared at the message like it was a joke. It wasn't. She'd even labeled the PDF Marie's monthly needs, as if she were submitting it to HR for reimbursement. I waited a day before responding, trying to find the right words, the least confrontational angle. I finally texted back, "This isn't sustainable, Mom. I worked hard to get where I am. I can't take care of both of us." Her reply came instantly. "Wow, after everything I've done for you, this is how you repay me?" And just like that, the shift began. She started showing up less friendly, more clipped. She'd leave half-eaten food on the counter, clothes in my laundry, acting like she lived there but without the warmth. There was a coolness in her voice now, a quiet judgment. Every time I said no, she'd sigh dramatically, shake her head, mumble something about how ungrateful this generation is. The next morning, she Venmo requested me for emotional labor, $100. The note was a winking emoji. It would have been funny if it wasn't so dark. Marie wasn't just asking for help, she was calculating, pushing boundaries, seeing how far she could go before I snapped. And when I pushed back, even gently, she acted like I'd committed betrayal. I'd worked my whole life to escape the chaos she brought with her. Now she was moving in piece by manipulative piece. I knew it was coming, but it still hit harder than I expected. The guilt, the emotional blackmail. Marie didn't waste time with subtlety anymore. One night over takeout she didn't pay for, she launched into it between bites of sesame chicken. "You think your success just appeared out of nowhere? I sacrificed everything for you, Natalie." I nearly choked on my tea. Everything? This woman once pawned my school laptop to cover her overdue salon booth rent. Sacrifice wasn't the word I'd use. She leaned in, eyes gleaming with a strange mix of pity and contempt. "I gave you my best years. Stayed when I didn't want to. Worked double shifts at that awful nail salon. I could have had a real life if it weren't for you." She said it like she was doing me a favor, like keeping me alive had been some act of charity. I stayed quiet, jaw tight. I'd learned long ago that arguing with Marie was like trying to hold smoke, but then she crossed a line even she'd never touched before. "I could have aborted you, you know. Plenty of girls did back then." She said it so casually, like it was a fun fact. "But I didn't. I chose you. So now it's your turn to choose me." My stomach turned. The words hung in the air, heavy and vile. I felt my throat tighten as memories surged me at 11, alone in our apartment, heating up ramen while she was out, finding herself, 15, lying about a guardian on school forms because I hadn't seen her in 3 weeks. And now she wanted a standing ovation for not ending my existence? You owe me, she said flatly, as if it were the most obvious truth in the world. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, thinking about how she'd twisted motherhood into a debt she expected to be repaid in full plus interest. The worst part? She didn't see anything wrong with it. In her mind, I was ungrateful, a cold daughter who refused to pay her dues. But I knew better. I needed to hear the full truth from someone who hadn't rewritten history. I hadn't seen my father in 3 years. We'd drifted apart, nothing dramatic, just silence stretching between us like a bridge neither of us tried to cross. But after Marie's latest performance, I needed clarity. Answers. A timeline not scribbled over with revisionist lies. He still lived in Joliet, a quiet man with a smaller life than he deserved. When he opened the door, he looked surprised, but not unkind. Same denim jacket, same tired eyes that used to crinkle when he smiled. "Natalie," he said softly, stepping aside to let me in. I sat on the plaid couch I remembered from my teenage years. The TV played softly in the background, some old western, but the air was thick with what I hadn't said yet. I didn't waste time. "She's back," I said, "Marie, and she wants me to take care of her. Says she sacrificed everything. Says I owe her." His laugh was dry, bitter. He rubbed his chin like he was debating whether to speak or scream. "That woman didn't sacrifice a damn thing. She took off when you were 10, Nat. You remember that?" I did, vividly. The suitcase by the door, her perfume lingering in the hallway, the silence that followed. "She met some guy at work," Dad continued. "Said she was tired of being a mother, said she was too young to be tied down. She was gone by the end of the week." His voice broke a little. "You stayed. She didn't send a dime after that. No child support. No birthday cards. Nothing. Just disappeared." I felt something in me snap into place, like a puzzle piece I'd been forcing for years finally found its edge. "She's always been a user," he added, eyes hardening. "Only shows up when she smells opportunity. You getting promoted? That's just blood in the water to her." We sat in silence for a while. I looked around at the worn furniture, the quiet clutter of someone who lived simply. He hadn't been perfect, but he'd stayed. He'd done his best with what he had. Marie, on the other hand, hadn't even tried. "She said I owe her," I whispered. Dad shook his head slowly. "No, baby girl, you don't owe her a damn thing." And for the first time in weeks, I finally believed it. It was a Wednesday evening when she showed up again, no text, no call, just the jangle of the elevator and a knock like a cop at the door. I opened it to find Marie standing there in her trench coat, arms crossed, lips tight. No smile this time, no sweet talk, just heat in her eyes like she'd finally gotten tired of pretending. "Can we talk?" she asked, though she was already stepping inside. She didn't sit. She paced, eyes darting around like she was taking inventory again. Then she stopped in the middle of the living room, turned, and dropped her voice to a sharp whisper. "If you don't help me, I'll tell everyone you abandoned me." I blinked. "Excuse me?" Her jaw clenched. "Family, friends, Facebook, I'll tell them how you cut off your poor mother after everything I did for you. I'll tell them you're too good for the woman who gave you life." I felt my stomach drop. "You're threatening me?" She didn't flinch. "I'm warning you. People won't look kindly on a daughter who lets her own mother struggle while she sips wine in a condo with a city view." I laughed, but it wasn't amusement, it was disbelief. "You mean lie to everyone?" Her smile returned, but this time it was razor thin. "I'll just tell my truth. It's not my fault if they see you for what you are." Her truth. That's what she called it, as if facts were optional and she could paint herself as the abandoned matriarch, struggling in silence while her heartless daughter chased corporate status. "You've rewritten the past so many times, you've convinced yourself you're the victim," I said, my voice calm but firm. "But I'm not letting you rewrite me." Her eyes narrowed. "You always were dramatic. And you were always manipulative," I shot back. She stared me down for a long second, then shrugged. "Fine. You made your choice." She walked out with that same self-assured sway like she'd already won. But I wasn't scared. Not yet. That came later when I found out how deep her betrayal really went. I got the call the next morning from Lacey, our HR coordinator. Her voice was shaky, unsure. "Hey Natalie, just checking, did you authorize someone to call about your 401 cam yesterday?" I nearly dropped my phone. "No," I said slowly. "Why?" Lacey hesitated. "A woman called, said she was you, claimed she lost access to the employee portal and needed information about your retirement plan and year-end bonus. She had your full name, department, even your employee ID. We thought it was odd, but she was convincing. My skin went cold." "What did you tell her?" "Nothing major. We stalled her, said we needed to verify identity, but she pushed hard, Nat, said she was in a rush, kept referencing your direct manager's name like she was just on a tight deadline." I hung up, heart thudding, and sat at my kitchen counter in silence. Marie. It had to be. No one else had that kind of information unless they'd been snooping. I opened my email, scrolled through sent folders, and found a message from weeks ago. She'd used my laptop while I cooked dinner one night. "Just checking Facebook," she'd said. But she'd left the browser open on my HR dashboard. She'd memorized everything. The next 2 hours were a blur of damage control. I locked down my accounts, changed passwords, called our IT department, and flagged the incident with HR. Lacey promised to file a report. "They might involve legal," she said. "It was identity fraud, plain and simple." But for me, it was deeper. It was personal. Marie hadn't just overstepped. She'd broken into my life, not with force, but with charm and guilt and the kind of calculated desperation only she could weaponize. She didn't care about my boundaries. She saw my future, my earnings, my retirement, my long nights of work as hers to pillage. Like I was just a vault waiting to be cracked open. I stared out my window, watching the city move below, and realized this wasn't just manipulation anymore. It was war. Friday morning, 8:15 a.m., and I was already sweating through my blouse. I sat stiff in a glass-walled conference room across from Melissa Tan, director of HR, and Lacey, the coordinator who'd called me. My heart thudded against my ribs, equal parts fury and dread. This wasn't some messy family drama anymore. It had spilled into my workplace, the one place I'd kept clean, safe, mine. Melissa clicked her pen and got right to it. "Natalie, we take employee data security very seriously. Your mother's actions impersonating you, fishing for financial details, crossed a major line. If our team hadn't caught it, she could have accessed privileged information." I nodded, fingers laced tight. I had no idea she'd go that far. "She knew your employee ID," Lacey added gently. "And she knew names, titles. That only comes from close proximity. Are you absolutely certain she doesn't have access to your work accounts?" I paused. Weeks ago, I'd let Marie borrow my laptop stupidly. She'd lingered at my desk, asked casual questions like, "So, how do bonuses work in your industry?" I'd brushed it off as curiosity. Now I saw it for what it was, reconnaissance. "I'll reset everything," I said. "Passwords, two-factor, all of it." Melissa nodded. "We'll do a full sweep on our end. But Natalie," she leaned forward, "you need to protect yourself, professionally and personally." The words hit harder than I expected. Protect yourself. From your own mother. After the meeting, I sat frozen at my desk, staring at my screen, unable to type. I kept picturing Marie on the phone, pretending to be me. Hearing my name in her mouth, used like a key to pry into my future. And for what? To calculate how much she could squeeze out of me? This wasn't just overbearing parenting, it was sabotage. I'd worked 15 years to build this career, countless 2A.M. deadlines, last-minute pitches, promotions clawed out of late nights and sacrificed weekends. And now, because she smelled money, she was trying to unravel it all. I wasn't just feeling violated. I was feeling hunted. I didn't plan the confrontation, it just happened. A week later, Marie showed up again, uninvited, carrying a tray of cookies from the overpriced bakery near my building. The box was pink, the smile on her face even sweeter, but I wasn't in the mood for sugarcoating. "You've been digging into my job," I said the moment she stepped inside. She blinked, feigning innocence. "I don't know what you mean." "Cut it, Marie." I pulled a folder from the kitchen counter and dropped it in front of her. "You called HR pretending to be me. You asked about my retirement, my bonus. You crossed the line." Her expression flickered just for a second before she smoothed it over with a sigh. "I was worried. I wanted to make sure you were okay." "By impersonating me?" I snapped. "By violating my workplace?" She didn't answer. She reached for the cookie box, as if the conversation bored her. That's when I opened the second folder thicker. Older. Remember when you said you gave everything for me? I said, my voice calm but cold. Here's your custody order. You gave up primary guardianship when I was 10. You moved in with Mark in St. Louis and left me with Dad. No calls, no visits, no support checks. Her eyes narrowed, but I kept going. Here's the letter from CPS. I missed so many days in middle school they sent someone to investigate neglect. I told them I was homeschooled. I wasn't. You just didn't show up anymore. I slid another paper across the counter. And here's the court record where you petitioned to stop child support payments because, quote, Natalie's father is capable of caring for her without assistance. She looked at the documents like they were in a foreign language. You weren't there, I said. You didn't sacrifice, you vanished. Her mask slipped. Just for a second, then she scoffed. You really dug all this up just to throw it in my face? No, I said, folding my arms. I dug it up so you'd stop rewriting history. Marie stood, box of cookies clutched to her chest like a shield. Fine. You want to act like I was never there? Go ahead. But don't come crawling back when you realize you need your mother. I didn't flinch. I needed her a long time ago, I said. And she never showed. This time, I was the one who closed the door. It started with a tag. I was halfway through a team call when my phone buzzed. Facebook. Marie had posted a photo of herself, eyes red, face drawn, sitting on a couch I didn't recognize, with a blanket draped over her shoulders like a shawl of sorrow. The caption was a gut punch. When your only child forgets the meaning of family, after everything I gave, I'm left alone, sick and struggling. But I guess success changes people. Number. Disowned number. Heartbroken number. Single mother strong. Over 100 likes. Dozens of comments. All the predictable voices chiming in. You don't deserve this, Marie. She'll regret this someday. Some kids forget who raised them. My inbox flooded. Cousins I hadn't spoken to in years. Family, friends I didn't even know I was still connected to. Natalie, what's going on with your mom? Are you really cutting her off? She said you left her homeless? I wanted to scream. She wasn't homeless. She had her apartment in Rockford, the same one she'd lived in for years. She just wanted me to pay for a newer one, closer to my place, preferably with a spa tub and concierge. But no one saw that. They just saw the curated sob story. The tragic single mom abandoned by her greedy corporate daughter. And Marie played it flawlessly. She always did know how to weaponize an audience. At first, I tried to ignore it, let people believe what they wanted. But then she posted again. Just got back from the doctor. High blood pressure. Stress. Heart pain. Wonder why? Maybe being discarded like trash by your only child has something to do with it. Number, family is supposed to love you. She included a screenshot of a text I'd sent weeks ago. I'm not in a position to help you financially right now. Cropped, of course, stripped of context, designed to make me look like a monster. I sat alone that night, scrolling through the comments, feeling my chest tighten. It wasn't just about what she'd said, it was how easily people believed it. No one asked for the full story. No one wondered what came before the photos and hashtags. Marie was crafting a lie. And the worst part? It was going viral. 2 days later, my phone buzzed with a name I hadn't seen in years. Gloria Parker, my mother's older sister. I hesitated before answering. Aunt Gloria had always been the quiet one in family gatherings, sharp-eyed, soft-spoken, rarely stepping into drama. She lived in Arizona now. Retired. Kept to herself. Natalie, she said, her voice warm but measured. I saw the post. I braced myself for another guilt trip. I just want to say don't let her get to you. She's done this before. My breath caught. What do you mean? A sigh. Back in '98, she told our cousin Carla the same thing. That I abandoned her, that I stole from her, that I left her in the hospital with no food. She made a whole scene because I wouldn't co-sign a loan. I sat down slowly. She told everyone I left her to suffer. She loves the martyr role, Gloria said. Always has. When we were kids, she'd cry to our mother that I got more attention because I didn't struggle enough. It's a pattern. She finds someone to lean on, bleeds them dry, and when they stop, she turns the story inside out. I stared at the wall, that familiar mix of anger and vindication rising in my throat. You're not the first, Gloria continued gently. You're just the latest. Her words landed like an anchor grounding me in truth. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't cruel. I was someone who had finally said enough. I thought maybe I was imagining it, I admitted, that I was being too harsh. No, honey, you were being smart, she said. Boundaries aren't cruelty. They're survival. Especially with someone like Marie. We talked for over an hour. She told me stories I'd never heard about Marie borrowing money from family members and ghosting them, faking illnesses for attention, even showing up uninvited at Gloria's job once demanding a place to stay. She's exhausting, Gloria said, with a dry chuckle. But she's also predictable. And you're not her caretaker, you're not her fix. For the first time in weeks, I felt seen. Not as the villain in Marie's Facebook saga, but as a woman who drew a line in the sand. And stood by it. The morning after my call with Aunt Gloria, I sat at my desk with a different kind of determination. No more hoping Marie would back off. No more waiting for her to feel shame. She wouldn't. She never had. And if I didn't take this seriously, she'd keep escalating until she took something I couldn't get back. So I did what she never expected. I called a lawyer, Jessica Tran. Mid-40 seconds. Calm. Unshakable. She came recommended by a colleague who dealt with a stalker ex. Tell me everything, she said, voice even but focused. So I did. The impersonation with HR, the social media defamation, the unwanted visits, the emotionally loaded threats, the digital trail Marie left behind like a neon breadcrumb path to court. Jessica didn't blink. We're drafting 2 documents, she said. A cease and desist for harassment and defamation, and a formal request for a no-contact order, citing impersonation and workplace intrusion. She explained that while getting a restraining order for family is emotionally difficult, legally it's just paperwork, especially when the paper trail is clear. I sent her screenshots, recordings, timestamps. I forwarded Marie's fake HR call log from my company. Jessica nodded through all of it. You're doing the right thing, she said. She's crossed every boundary. I also took Jessica's advice to go a step further. I updated my financial accounts, locked down all banking with new credentials, switched phone carriers and added call blocking. I even updated my will not because I expected anything to happen, but because I refused to leave any loose ends she could worm into if things got worse. Then I blocked Marie everywhere. Phone, email, Facebook, Instagram. I locked down every account and notified HR of the legal documents in motion. The silence that followed was the loudest it had ever been. No more guilt-bait texts, no late-night calls, no "you'll regret this" voicemails in her signature sing-song tone. Just peace. Not the fragile kind, but the kind built with legal teeth and emotional cement. I hadn't just drawn a boundary, I'd built a wall. And for the first time since her knock on my door, I felt safe inside my own life. 2 weeks later, I sat down at my laptop with a blank document and a full heart. I wasn't writing for Marie. She didn't deserve my words anymore. I was writing for the people she'd poisoned, family members, old friends, cousins who'd sent me half-accusatory DMs asking, "Why would you abandon your sick mom?" They'd only heard one story. So, I told them mine. The letter wasn't emotional. It was clean. Clinical. Almost. I started with dates when Marie left, when she stopped calling, when child support payments ended. I included photos of the court records, redacted but legible. Letters from social services during the years she disappeared. Screenshots of her Facebook posts, followed by the full, unedited text message chains that told a very different story than the one she'd fed them. I didn't beg for understanding. I didn't dramatize it. I just told the truth. I ended with this. This isn't a feud, it's a boundary. I wish Marie peace, but I won't be her scapegoat anymore, and I won't let lies define who I am. I sent it to 10 people, not a broadcast, just a quiet ripple in the water. Some responded within the hour. I had no idea, I'm so sorry. I should have asked before I judged. She did something similar to my mom years ago. Others? Total silence. And honestly, that was fine. I didn't write the letter for validation. I wrote it to reclaim my voice, to take back the narrative she tried to weaponize against me. I'd been living in her shadow far too long, shrinking myself to avoid conflict, carrying guilt that wasn't mine to bear. But not anymore. The silence from those who stayed quiet didn't sting. It confirmed what I already knew. Some people only want the version of the story that's easy to believe, not the one that's true. And I'd stopped living for their approval. I'd spent my life building something Marie couldn't touch. Now I was building something else. Freedom, clarity, a life that belonged to me and only me. It's been 6 months since the last message. No surprise pop-ins, no blocked number voicemails, no cryptic Facebook posts aimed like poison darts at my dignity. Just stillness. And I've never felt more free. My life looks different now. My apartment feels like mine again, quiet, intentional, undisturbed. My mornings start with peace, not panic. I drink my coffee without checking my phone in dread. I go to work without worrying if another HR incident is waiting in my inbox. My team's thriving, and I've stepped into a leadership role I used to second-guess myself into shrinking from. I no longer apologize for my success, because now I understand. Success isn't something to feel guilty for, it's something I earned. And peace? Peace isn't passive, it's something you fight for. I still hear from Aunt Gloria sometimes. Quick check-ins, thoughtful texts. Just thinking about you today. She's become a quiet anchor proof that blood doesn't always mean damage. That sometimes, love runs deeper than DNA. The rest of the family, some faded into silence. Some offered soft apologies, then disappeared. And that's okay. Not everyone deserves a seat at your table just because they brought a fork. Because here's what I've learned. Family isn't who shares your blood. It's who respects your boundaries. It's the people who don't guilt you into self-erasure. It's the ones who don't demand your success as payment for their neglect. It's the people who choose you back without needing to be bought. Marie? I don't know where she is now. Last I heard, she moved in with a friend in another state. Maybe she's found someone else to feed off. Maybe not. I stopped checking. She no longer takes up space in my head or my life. I grieved the mother I never had, and then I moved on. Because choosing peace isn't abandonment, it's survival. So if you're reading this, wondering whether it's okay to let go, if it's selfish to cut ties with someone who claims they made, you hear this. If someone tries to guilt you into sacrificing your life, remember, you don't owe anyone your future just because they gave you your past. I chose myself, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. This story was brutal, but this story on the right-hand side is even more insane.